You have gone through the previous 3 chapters in your dissertation. You have written the proposal, which you covered most of the first chapter of your dissertation. You have also written the literature review, which is normally the 2nd chapter, and you have written down the methodology, which is the 3rd chapter. In your methodology, you indicated that you are going to conduct a qualitative study, which might be phenomenology, case study, or whichever approach you chose. You have even gone ahead and conducted interviews and transcribed your qualitative data. For example, you might have 10 interview transcripts that you need to turn into findings. This video will help you go from raw qualitative data in the form of transcripts to well-defined findings. In this video, we are simply going to be conducting qualitative data analysis. Before we conduct qualitative data analysis, it's important to highlight that thematic analysis is one of the most popular approaches of analyzing qualitative data. When we are conducting thematic analysis, we can choose to conduct inductive thematic analysis, which means that our themes will come from our data, or deductive thematic analysis, which means that we are going to come up with themes a priori or before we conduct analysis, and then go to the data to find quotes to support the themes. I have covered the differences between inductive and deductive thematic analysis in a previous video. If you'd like to see or to learn more about the differences between inductive and deductive thematic analysis, click on the link in the description. However, for this video, we are going to analyze qualitative data or interview transcripts through inductive thematic analysis. That means we are going to approach the data with an open mind and let the data determine our themes. One of the most popular approaches to conducting thematic analysis is following the 6 steps laid out by Braun and Clarke in the approach to conducting thematic analysis. The Braun and Clarke 6-step framework is one of the most cited approaches of conducting thematic analysis. The 6 steps highlighted by Braun and Clarke that we are going to follow to conduct thematic analysis in our data include 1. Familiarizing with the data, 2. Generating initial codes, 3. Generating initial themes, 4. Reviewing and refining themes, 5. Defining and naming themes, and 6. Writing the findings report. Let me interrupt this video for a minute and pose this question to you. Are you overwhelmed by qualitative data analysis? I've got you covered with 2 specialized services tailored just for you. But before I tell you of my services, let me start by informing you that I have an average 5-star rating from previous clients that I've worked with both in the done for you and the consulting service. Now, here are the 2 services I provide to help you in analyzing your qualitative data. Number 1, the done for you qualitative data analysis service. In this service, I handle the heavy lifting so you can focus on the bigger picture. My service includes meticulous manual coding, where I code every word carefully for meaningful insights, theme development, where I identify patterns that matter the most, data visualization, where I produce stunning visuals that tell your data story, writing the findings report, where I produce content that's ready to use for the 4th chapter of your thesis or dissertation, which is the findings section. And I also provide a walkthrough video recording, which is a step-by-step explanation of how I analyzed your data using NVivo. The second service that I offer is the one-on-one NVivo consulting. In this service, we hop on a video call via Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and in just a few hours, I'll help you become a pro with NVivo. So whether you are a beginner or looking to refine your qualitative data analysis skills, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. So don't wait, contact me today. My details in the description and in the pinned comment. Now let's go and have an example of a study that we are going to use in this video, and also the transcripts that we are going to analyze for the purposes of this video. The example study that we are going to analyze for the purposes of this video is evaluating the importance of parental engagement in a large English primary school, and these are the objectives. Now, following the Braun and Clarke 6 steps of conducting thematic analysis, the first step is familiarizing with the data. That would entail going to the transcripts, these are the transcripts, and reading them like a story. So I don't want to spend a lot of time in this video, but generally I have gone and read through these transcripts like a story to try and understand the context and nuance. So interview 1 and interview 2. Once we familiarize with the data during transcription and when we are cleaning the transcripts, now we can move to the second step, which is generating initial codes. This is the step which, for the purposes of this video, we are going to use NVivo. So let me go and open NVivo. I have NVivo 15. So this is the software that we are going to use, not to conduct analysis, but to manage our analysis. So NVivo doesn't conduct analysis. NVivo helps us to manage our analysis. Basically, I'm going to manage my analysis through this tool. So here we have NVivo. This is what you see when you open NVivo. I click on new project, and let's call this parental engagement, just PE, just some random initials. Then click on next. Of course, I like to do manual saving every 15 minutes. I do not like auto-saving my projects because I don't like losing my work. Sometimes when you allow NVivo to auto-save your project, you can lose your work. I wouldn't encourage you to do that. Do manual saving every 15 minutes or so. Then we click on create project. So this is NVivo 15. And any NVivo looks exactly like this, even the previous versions like NVivo 14. We have the blue menu where we have the main tools, and we have the top menu where we have file, home, import, create, explore, share, modules, and the middle menu. So in the blue menu, we just want to focus on files and codes. Those are the two main things that you should focus on as a beginner, okay? Files and codes. When conducting thematic analysis, we are going to import the files and then code them. That's all we are going to do. To import the files, I drag and drop them inside the file section. I close the message, then I go to the file. These are my two files. Let me close them in Word so that I can drag. I select them, drag, and drop them in the file section. Once I drag and drop them, they will get imported into NVivo 15. Here we have the files, and now I can begin coding. And in this video, I'm not going to do all those steps. I'm going to just code and give an example of coding, and generally maybe explore some examples of themes. When we double click on interview 1, you can see these are the transcripts and we need to code. But before we start coding, I want to give an example of a code. This is an excerpt, or this is a transcript that I got from a book called The Coding Manual by Johnny Saldana. He shows examples of codes. So I'm going to show you an example of a code and then define a code for you, and then we go do coding in NVivo. Let me read the whole paragraph first, and then we look at some examples of codes here, okay? So driving west along the highway access road and up Main Street to World Pass Road, they were abandoned warehouse buildings in disrepair. Spray painted gang graffiti on walls of several occupied and unoccupied buildings. I passed a Salvation Army thrift store, Napa auto parts store, a tire manufacturing plant, old houses in between industrial sites, an auto glass store, market liquors, budget tire, a check cashing service. More spray paint was on the walls. Now, if you look at this section, look at from this statement where this person says that abandoned warehouse buildings in disrepair. You can see they start coding mid-sentence and they code that as buildings. Then we also have spray painted gang graffiti on walls of several occupied and unoccupied buildings. So that code is graffiti. Then we have another section, Salvation Army thrift store, Napa auto parts, a tire manufacturing plant, old houses in between industrial sites, and auto glass stores, market, liquors, budget tire, a check cashing service. All those are businesses. Then more spray paint was on the walls, graffiti. Those are codes. When you look at these codes and you read those sentences, you can see that generally a code is a label or an interpretive statement to any information that's important to our research questions. So we are generally coding sections that we believe are important to our research objectives. Now, with that in mind, we can begin coding of our transcripts. Before we begin coding, also it's important to know how we manage our codes. How do we manage our codes? I could go on the raw transcripts that I have here and assign them color codes. For example, this is the first question that this person is asking. I mark that as, let's start with this red. Then this is another question which is in bold. I can give it a color like this, kind of gold or yellow. Then there's another question here. I can make it green. Using these color codes, when I go and code this data inside NVivo, I will just mark it with these color codes. For example, let's go and read this. Actually, there is another question that was read originally. I don't know why I ignored it, which is the first question. Let's mark this question as purple. Okay, so let's begin with the first question. Okay, let me just read the whole section, then come back and start coding. So my questions are going to focus on parental engagement. As you know, the first set are quite general, and then we'll narrow into the COVID impact later. People use the term parental engagement in lots of different ways. In your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? So this person says, for me, it means the partnership between school and parents, not just with the academic side of things, but with all the personal, social, and health. Creating a community, if you like, so the school is the health of the community. The question they are being asked is, in your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? Another tip when you are coding, read the whole paragraph first and then come back and start coding. So for me, it means partnership between school and parents. I think that's a very important code. So on the code section, I can right click, create a new folder and call it initial codes. All right, initial codes. And I can call this folder number, right click, folder properties. I can call it folder number A. Initial codes. What does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? For me, it means partnership between school and parents. I can highlight that section, right click, click on code selection, click on initial codes, click on top level code, and call this partnership between school and parents. That's an obvious, or that's a direct code. That's one code. Now, let's double click to see the quote that we just included there. You can see, of course, these transcripts are not well formatted. They are in a table. That's why you see that it's more bold than the others. And then for this code, I want to just close the transcript for now. Right click, go to color and mark it as red. Why did I mark that code as red? Because I am using color codes to just mark the sections where these codes came from initially. So partnership between school and parents. Let's go and code more. Not just with academic side of things, but with personal, social, and health. Creating a community, if you like, with the school as the heart of the community. Actually, the code that I had, I can review it. I can interpret this whole statement, both first and the second. For me, it means partnership between school and parents, not just with the academic side of things, but with all the personal, social, and health. I want to correct this code. How do I change a code? So I can drag and drop this statement in there, or highlight this statement, drag and drop it inside the code where I want it. Then I can right click on the code. Remember, now I want to rename this code, and I want to call this holistic partnership between school and parents, because this person is saying parental engagement involves parents and teachers, or school and parents organizing or collaborating in different areas. So holistic partnership between school and parents. Then creating a community, if you like, the school is the heart of the community. I want to highlight this statement, go to code selection, click on initial codes, click on top level code, and this one I want to vice type as establishing a community with school at the center of it. That's the second meaning of parental engagement. Again, this code I want to just close so that you can see. Right click, go to color, red. So I'll know this code came from the first question. That's why I'm just using color codes for this video. Where are these codes coming from? Remember, we are interpreting the information based on our research objectives. So let's look at the second question. And in your view, what types of parental engagement are most effective? If I take you back to my original transcript, the color code for that question is purple. I want to mark all codes that I'll get here as purple. So in your view, what types of parental engagement are most effective? As you've alluded to, there are lots of different ways it could be defined. Then they say, I think the most effective are the ones that have a strong purpose, so the parents know why they are coming in. Obviously, some of our parents' school is a barrier. So I think some of the more social, community-based events that get the parents through the door for just a coffee or a chat are really important. As well as even things like phone calls and grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children, and not just the bad stuff but the good stuff too. It's all about building those relationships, I think. So let's code this. Let's read the question again. In your view, what types of parental engagement are most effective? I think the most effective ones are the ones that have a strong purpose, so the parents know why they are coming in. Obviously, some of our parents' school is a barrier, so I think some of the more social, community-based events that get parents through the door for just a coffee or a chat are really important. This person is saying from where they say obviously some of our parents' school is a barrier. I think some of the more social, community-based events. This person believes that the most effective types of parental engagement are, let me highlight this and go to code selection, social and community-based events. Social and community-based events. For this code, watch very carefully. I want to right click and go to color and mark that as purple. Because that code, I choose the color code as purple, I mark that. You can see the difference between codes that came from question 1 and codes that came from question 2. Let's code more. As well as things like phone calls and grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children. So another effective form of parental engagement is right click, code selection, initial codes, making phone calls to parents. Again, let's go to the code section. That code, I want to mark it as purple. And grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children. Not just the bad stuff, but the good stuff too. It's all about building those relationships. Another effective form of parental engagement is top level code. Let's say having informal chats with parents. That's another form, having informal chats with parents. Go to color. That code, we mark it as purple. Now, I would like to go back and code the same question in another transcript. Where if I was doing this, I would go and code this whole transcript, but this is just an example video. Let's go and do interview 2 and let's code the same. This person is asking the same question, so we use the same color codes. Click on initial codes. Let's read this. So my first set of questions focus on parental engagement. Okay, in your experience, what do people mean when they talk about parental engagement in school? For me personally, it's an additional thing. It's something you do as a class teacher on a lot of different levels. It's about having a good relationship with parents in your class. Then there's different layers you can add to that, like events we have in school that parents come in and be part of. You might also have some parents that volunteer within school as well. They could be parents coming into the classroom to see things happening. So I think it's layered in a lot of levels, but it starts with the class teacher building relationships. After that, you can do loads of different things to get parents involved. So this one I want to highlight, it's all about having a good relationship with parents in your class. This person is trying to say parental engagement, let's code, involves establishing a good relationship with parents. So that's what that person believes. Remember, I right click color. That question, the color code for it is red, of course. So establishing a good relationship with parents, that's what that person believes. Actually, that's what they are trying to say with the whole paragraph. So we can just let that rest. But it starts with class teacher building those relationships. This quote, I can drag and drop it in, involves establishing a good relationship. So one code, if I double click this, can be supported by more than one quote. You have to note that when we are coding, one code can be supported by more than one quote. Let's read the second question. Which of those different layers or which types of parental engagement are most effective? I think the most effective has got to be that relationship that you have with parents as a teacher, because parents will have different experiences with school. You want them to come through the door and be involved that way, but you also want them to be involved outside school as well with homework and reports. That's another level of engagement outside of school, which has completely changed in the last 18 months. But in terms of engagement, I think you have to engage with them before you can expect them to engage with you. If you don't want them through the doors, then you got to make them feel welcome and at ease. You got to let them know who you are and what you are about. You build that relationship and have conversations about their children and keep them up to date, informed with everything. The more you do, the more they become involved. So it starts with teacher-parent relationship. After then, everything else grows from that. The most effective type of parental engagement, according to this person, and I can call this whole paragraph, is code selection, cultivating a good relationship with parents. So this person believes that cultivating a good relationship with parents will be the most effective way to engage such parents. And you see it's purple. So I want to right click and color purple. Now I want to close these transcripts and see the examples of code that we have here. Normally I would go and revise these codes, check them and see they sound good. So we would have another folder called, right click new folder called revised codes. We create another folder, revised codes. So if you are coding for the whole of the transcripts 1 and 2, we would go and revise codes. That means we'll create another folder, then come and press Ctrl A, right click, copy, then go to revise codes, right click, paste. With that in mind, we will go and revise the codes and ask ourselves, are these codes portraying the interpretation that we wanted to have? Are these codes the right codes? Once we revise codes, then we would go and create another folder and call this, and here we would move to the other step of Braun and Clarke, which is generating themes. So create another folder called preliminary themes. Here we would be looking to combine the codes based on shared meaning to form themes. Let me show you this practically. I'm assuming we have gone and revised the codes. Copy the codes. We have gone and revised them. Let me paste them here. Now you can see I marked the codes because I knew we could try to construct meaning based on codes that originated or came from the same questions. For example, this person was asking, in your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? If you read these codes, establishing a community, establishing a good relationship, making phone call to parents. If I right click here and say new code and call this code, and this is not a code by the way, this is a preliminary theme. I call this number A or theme A. This is a theme now. Let me call this subjective meaning of parental engagement. And here I'm going to add a description to describe this. This theme represents the different views of the participants on what parental engagement means according to them. Actually, it's what this theme represents the different views of the participant on what parental engagement meant, not means, meant according to them. So that's the subjective meaning of parental engagement. Click on these three sections, drag and drop those codes in there, right click and select aggregate coding from children. If we combine these codes based on shared meaning, the meaning they portray is subjective meaning of parental engagement. So we combine codes together based on shared meaning to form themes. That's what I'm doing here, and that's how we get the first theme. Let's combine a group of other codes. Actually, making phone calls to parents is, I think that falls in another place. Or let me just double click on that because I think I forgot to mark that code. So if I double click on it, I can know where it came from. So that's a type. So that one actually I can right click. I had forgotten the color code for that is purple. Now let's go and read the second question and try to think what is the theme here. And just not based on, if you read cultivating a good relationship with parents, having informal chats with parents, making phone call to parents, social and community based events, you can remember if you are reading here, this is a type, these are types of parental engagement. So these four codes convey the types. I want to go right click, select new code, call this theme B, and call this types of parental engagement. This theme highlights the different forms of parental engagement according to the interviewed teachers. So that's theme B. Then I go and control select, press control on your computer and click, control click, drag and drop all those codes under theme B, right click and aggregate. So for this video, I'm just trying to show the whole process. In my other videos, I go through step by step on the details on how we analyze and how we combine codes to form themes. But for the purposes of this video, these are the two themes that we could have gotten. Now with these two themes, we can go and click on share, export codebook. This is preliminary themes. I want to save this codebook here. select include number of files and references and click OK. Check that. These are theme A, descriptions, codes below it. Theme B, description, codes below it. This is how we get a code book once we conduct analysis in NVivo. Basically, for this video, I wanted just to introduce you to the process of analyzing qualitative data for your thesis or dissertation. And basically what we've done here is get transcripts, generate codes, and then revise the codes, and then combine the codes based on shared meaning to form themes, and to show how we form themes based on shared meaning. Basically, this is how we conduct thematic analysis. The other step that we can follow is how to report the findings and do all these visuals that we are able to do in thematic analysis. I've covered this in my previous videos, and even in more in-depth videos that I'm going to link in the description. You can go watch those videos to learn more on, and to even see a more in-depth tutorial on how to conduct analysis or thematic analysis, and be able to move from raw transcripts to having themes, and to writing it down and having findings. So remember, if you are feeling stuck with your data analysis chapter, don't stress. I'm here to help. I offer done for you qualitative data analysis services using NVivo. My done for you service includes coding, theme development, and visualization. On the other hand, if you prefer to learn and do the analysis yourself, I provide one-on-one consulting where I'll guide you step by step on how to master NVivo in performing qualitative data analysis. Reach out right now. Check the description below for my email and link to my website. Thank you.